For decades, French company Orano operated at the heart of Niger's uranium belt, extracting wealth while leaving behind questions no one ever fully answered. That uneasy relationship finally collapsed in 2025, when Niger's new military government took control of its mines and pushed Orano out. Paris called it unfair. Niamey called it liberation. But everything changed when officials inspecting abandoned sites near Arlit found something alarming. 400 barrels of radioactive material lying exposed in the desert, leaking toxins far above safe levels. Niger immediately accused Orano of environmental crimes. Now the world wants to know, how did those barrels get there? And what did they reveal about the past 50 years? Let's find out. When Niger's new military-led government ordered a comprehensive inspection of former uranium sites around Arlit, the mission sounded routine. For decades, northern Niger had been a quiet extraction zone serving foreign companies, particularly France's nuclear giant, Orano. Mines opened, mines closed, trucks moved in and out, and the desert swallowed whatever traces were left behind. But in 2025, for the first time in the country's history, Niger decided to examine that desert with its own eyes instead of relying on foreign reports. What began as a simple environmental review soon turned into a revelation that would ignite one of Africa's most explosive geopolitical confrontations. The inspectors didn't expect to find anything dramatic, maybe residue, maybe rusted equipment, maybe a few abandoned containers. What they found instead were barrels, hundreds of them, scattered across the sand in Madawaila, just outside Arlit, where Orano and its predecessor companies had operated for decades. Some barrels were intact, others had cracked, their contents exposed. All of them were silent. But when technicians switched on their radiation meters, the silence broke. The numbers shot upward, 7 to 10 microsieverts per hour, a reading that no open-air environment should ever produce. Normal desert radiation sits around 0.5 microsieverts. What Niger's inspectors were standing in was not slightly elevated. It was dangerous. It was contamination. It was a sign that someone at some point had abandoned radioactive core material in the open without disposal, safety measures, or even a warning sign. At first, the team assumed it might be from recent activity, but that theory collapsed immediately. Orano claimed it had not operated in Madawaila and held no license there. Yet the barrels were only a short distance away from the broader uranium belt where French extraction had dominated for 5 decades. Their age, condition, and location told a story of long-term neglect, not a recent mistake. When Niger's findings reached Niamey, the reaction was explosive. The government publicly accused Orano of predatory behavior, environmental crimes, and potential mass crimes. No diplomatic language, no cautious phrasing. This was the clearest, boldest allegation Niger had ever made against its former mining partner. Officials described the discovery not as pollution, but as poisoning of land, of air, of a community forced to live beside invisible hazards. But why was this discovery so politically powerful? Because it came only months after Niger had nationalized the Somaïr mine, stripping Orano of its 63.4% stake and asserting complete control over its uranium for the first time in its modern history. France saw the nationalization as aggression. Niger saw it as independence. And now, the radioactive barrels became physical proof, tangible, measurable, undeniable, that something had gone terribly wrong under foreign management. The government was no longer accusing a company of bad accounting or unfair contracts. It was accusing a global nuclear supplier of contaminating Nigerian soil and leaving radioactive waste in the open near civilian areas. And so the question grew louder. If these 400 barrels were left behind, what else was hidden in the desert that Niger was never meant to discover? Niger did not hesitate to answer the question raised by the discovery. The government went straight for the heart of the matter. It accused Orano, France's state-owned nuclear fuel company, of being responsible. Not indirectly responsible, not vaguely connected, directly responsible. The same company that had shaped Niger's uranium industry for half a century was now being painted as the source of radioactive waste abandoned in the desert. And the language Niamey used was not diplomatic. It was surgical. It was sharp. It was meant to cut. Justice Minister Alio Dauda stood before the press. held up the radiation readings, and declared that the contamination in Madawiela was far higher than normal and dangerous to human health. He explained that tests had detected 2 harmful substances linked to respiratory problems, substances that should never have been left in an unprotected environment. He called the entire scene an environmental crime, a predatory act, and a possible mass crime if long-term